Well, hello, Hot Pants. I don't suppose you have a driver's license tucked down in there somewhere, do you?
睇住嚟啦喎，預備睇住啦，1、2、3啊！哇！
A cross-country race with no rules, and a film that barely had them. The Cannonball Run didn't just skirt the system, it blew past it. Beneath the Ferraris and punchlines were derailed plans, stunts that flirted with disaster, and behind-the-scenes chaos, the studio admitted. What started as an outlaw protest became a box-office rocket fueled by improv, egos, and nerve. Buckle up for 20 strange, wild facts you never heard, because the real madness wasn't on the road, it was on set. Fact 1. Born illegal. Before the Cannonball Run became a comedy classic, it started as a real act of rebellion. In 1971, automotive journalist Brock Yates and racer Dan Gurney launched the Cannonball Baker's Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash, an illegal cross-country protest against America's 55 speed limit. No sponsors, no rules, just pure adrenaline and defiance. They tore across the country in under 36 hours, shocking officials and inspiring imitators. What began as a rebellious joyride against bureaucracy eventually became the blueprint for one of Hollywood's wildest movies. When the film hit theaters a decade later, it didn't just tell the story of that race. It carried its outlaw spirit, turning real-life chaos into cinematic legend. Fact 2. The real ambulance. That big white ambulance roaring across the screen wasn't a Hollywood prop. It was the real deal. In 1979, Brock Yates and director Hal Needham actually raced that exact Dodge van in one of the final Cannonball events. They disguised it as a medical emergency vehicle, complete with fake uniforms, flashing lights, and a patient in the back to dodge police. The plan mostly worked until the engine blew near Palm Springs. When Needham began filming the Cannonball Run, he dusted off the same van, repainted it, and gave it a second life as Burt Reynolds' ride. What looked like a joke on screen was actually a battle-tested outlaw on wheels. It wasn't just a set piece. It was history still running on fumes and defiance. Fact 3. Farah Fawcett's confusion. Farah Fawcett joined the Cannonball Run thinking she'd signed up for a sleek, romantic adventure movie. She studied her lines, planned her wardrobe, and even discussed her character's emotional arc. But when she arrived on set, she was met with Dean Martin dressed as a drunk priest and Sammy Davis Jr. cracking jokes between takes. That's when she realized this wasn't serious drama, it was total chaos. Farah later admitted she didn't know it was a comedy until she saw audiences laughing in theaters. Ironically, her genuine confusion gave her performance an honest charm. Surrounded by absurdity, she became the film's emotional anchor, standing out amid the madness. Sometimes not being in on the joke makes the joke even better. Fact 4. Sammy Davis Jr., the last-minute savior. The unforgettable priest with a gambling habit wasn't the original plan. The role of Fenderbaum was first written for Don Rickles, a comedy legend known for his razor-sharp insults. He accepted the job, then suddenly vanished from production. Reports differ. Some blame scheduling conflicts, others say creative clashes. Whatever the reason, producers panicked until Sammy Davis Jr. stepped in at the 11th hour. His charm, wit, and chemistry with Dean Martin turned the duo into one of the movie's funniest highlights. Their banter, half scripted, half improvised, gave the film its mischievous heartbeat. What could have been a disaster became a stroke of luck, proving that sometimes chaos delivers the best casting choices Hollywood could never plan. Fact 5. The Rat Pack's wild energy. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. didn't just play drunk priests. They reportedly were drunk for much of the shoot. The two Rat Pack icons treated filming like a vacation with cameras rolling. They arrived late, improvised entire scenes, and filled the set with laughter and cocktails. Director Hal Needham, rather than fight it, leaned into the chaos, capturing moments of genuine hilarity that no script could match. According to cast members, some takes were unusable because Dean and Sammy couldn't stop cracking up. Yet that unfiltered spontaneity became the film's charm. Their off-the-cuff banter embodied what the Cannonball Run truly was: fast, loose, and delightfully unprofessional. It wasn't just acting. It was the Rat Pack being the Rat Pack, communion wine and all. Fact 6. Roger Moore's self-parody. Roger Moore didn't play James Bond in the Cannonball Run. He played a man who thought he was James Bond. His character, Seymour Goldfarb Jr., cruised in an Aston Martin DB5, wore tailored tuxedos, and delivered suave one-liners straight out of a spy flick. It was a clever, tongue-in-cheek parody that fans loved. But the real Bond producers weren't amused. They couldn't legally stop it, but they reportedly made sure future 007 actors were contractually forbidden from spoofing the role again. Moore himself adored the joke, calling it one of his most liberating performances. In a movie overflowing with madness, he got to mock his own image, drive fast cars, and laugh at the spy persona that had defined his career. Even Bond, it turned out, wasn't safe from the chaos. Fact 7. The stunt that changed Hollywood safety. Not every crash in the Cannonball Run was funny. During a scene involving an Aston Martin and a staged accident, stunt woman Heidi von Beltz suffered a devastating injury when her seatbelt wasn't properly installed. The crash left her permanently paralyzed, and the aftermath sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Lawsuits followed, and the incident forced studios and the Directors Guild to overhaul on-set safety standards. From then on, seatbelts became mandatory in all stunt vehicles, and last-minute stunt changes were banned. It was a tragic moment behind a comedy that prided itself on chaos. While audiences laughed in theaters, the industry quietly rewrote its rulebook. Heidi's accident became a turning point, proving that even in Hollywood's wildest productions, some lines should never be crossed. Fact 8. When the police thought it was real, one chaotic day of filming turned into an unplanned showdown with actual law enforcement. During a downtown Las Vegas shoot, the Cannonball Run crew staged a wild chase scene. Burnouts, fake gunfire, blaring sirens. But there was one problem. They hadn't secured proper permits. Real cops, unaware it was a movie, stormed in mid-scene, thinking they'd stumbled into a genuine pursuit. Actors froze, crew members scattered, and someone yelled, "Cut!" But it was too late. After a tense standoff, the situation was cleared up with explanations and a few nervous laughs. No arrests were made, but the warning was clear. Don't ever do that again. Naturally, director Hal Needham took it as a badge of honor and kept filming anyway. Fact 9. The jet that broke the rules. That unforgettable scene where a jet lands dangerously low over a highway wasn't movie magic, it was real. Director Hal Needham used an actual Learjet, flying just above the road at terrifying speed. The catch? They reportedly didn't have FAA clearance to do it. The stunt was pulled off in a single take, with the crew holding their breath as the jet skimmed over cars and power lines. When federal authorities found out, the production faced serious questions and investigations. Needham later joked that it was easier to ask forgiveness than permission. The shot made it into the film untouched, capturing the raw danger that defined the Cannonball Run. It wasn't just acting. It was borderline insanity caught on camera. Fact 10. Jackie Chan's secret audition. Jackie Chan only had a few minutes of screen time in the Cannonball Run, but he treated them like a showcase. Every punch, flip, and stunt was precise, fast, and full of energy, turning a small comedic role into a global introduction. American audiences had never seen anything like him, a martial artist who was funny, fearless, and real. Even though much of his best action was trimmed down for tone, his performance stole every scene he was in. What most didn't realize was that this film was Jackie's unofficial audition for Hollywood. It proved his style could cross borders, blending humor and danger into one. The Cannonball Run didn't just feature him, it launched him. Fact 11. The bloopers that changed everything. When the Cannonball Run ended, most films would fade to black. But this one kept rolling, literally. Instead of credits, audiences got a full blooper reel packed with missed lines, stunt mishaps, and actors laughing at their own mistakes. It was raw, human, and hilarious, showing the chaos behind the comedy. The idea was simple but revolutionary, and one viewer took notes. Jackie Chan. He loved the honesty of showing the pain, failure, and fun behind the stunts. Inspired, he made blooper reels a signature feature in his own movies, starting with Dragon Lord, 1982. What began as an afterthought became a new tradition in cinema. Even in its mistakes, the Cannonball Run found a way to make history. Fact 12. The drunken duo. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. weren't just acting tipsy, they often were. The legendary Rat Pack members treated the Cannonball Run set like a nightclub with cameras. They showed up late, improvised most of their lines, and kept drinks nearby between takes. Director Hal Needham quickly realized there was no point fighting it. Their chemistry, even in chaos, was pure magic. One scene had Sammy slurring a prayer so badly it had to be re-recorded later, but Dean just laughed and rolled with it. What should have been a disaster turned into some of the movie's funniest, most natural moments. In a film built on madness, these two lived it. Fact 13. The script that was never finished. Most movies have a script. The Cannonball Run barely had one. Scenes were rewritten in parking lots, jokes were improvised on set, and some actors admitted they never saw a full screenplay. Burt Reynolds later joked that the film was one long ad-lib with cars. Director Hal Needham ran production like a live stunt show, fast, chaotic, and unpredictable. Farah Fawcett once said she had no idea what scene she was filming until the cameras started rolling. That wild, unscripted energy became the movie's secret weapon. The Cannonball Run didn't follow a script. It followed the moment. Fact 14. Jackie Chan's identity mix-up. Jackie Chan's debut in the Cannonball Run should have been a celebration, but it came with a sting. In the movie, his character is introduced as Japanese, not Chinese. For Hollywood at the time, it was a careless oversight. For Jackie, it was deeply frustrating. He later said that being mislabeled wasn't just inaccurate, it was disrespectful to his culture. Still, he threw himself into the role, doing his own stunts and showcasing the precision that would make him a legend. The mix-up became a quiet reminder of how little American studios understood Asian talent back then and how hard Jackie would work to change that. Within years, he'd become one of the most recognizable stars on Earth. Fact 15. The star who regretted it all. Burt Reynolds was Hollywood's biggest star in 1981, charming, untouchable, and drowning in offers. But years later, he called the Cannonball Run one of the worst decisions of his career. Why? Because he admitted he didn't take it seriously. Reynolds said he joined just to have fun with friends like DeLuise and director Hal Needham. He barely rehearsed, ignored the script, and treated filming like a paid vacation. Yet that laid-back energy became part of the film's charm. Audiences loved it. Ironically, the movie Reynolds dismissed as a joke became one of his biggest hits, reminding everyone that sometimes chaos sells better than perfection. Fact 16. Captain Chaos couldn't stop laughing. Dom DeLuise was supposed to be Burt Reynolds' goofy sidekick, but he couldn't stop breaking character. Every time the cameras rolled, he'd burst into laughter halfway through his lines, gasping for air while Burt tried to stay in character. Director Hal Needham eventually gave up trying to control it. The moments were too funny, too real, so he kept them in. What you see in the movie, Dom cracking up, Reynolds rolling his eyes, wasn't acting. It was genuine chaos caught on film. The energy between the two became the heart of the Cannonball Run. In a film full of stunts and speed, it was the unscripted joy that made it unforgettable. Fact 17. The game that outran the movie. Years after the Cannonball Run raced through theaters, it inspired something completely different, a video game. In 1986, Japanese game designer Yu Suzuki watched the movie and felt its spirit, freedom, rebellion, and the thrill of the open road. From that came Outrun, a driving game where you didn't race opponents, you chased the horizon. Red Ferrari, music blasting, wind in your face. It captured the movie's soul without copying a single scene. Outrun became a global hit, shaping the entire racing genre. What started as a chaotic comedy turned into digital escapism, proving that the need for speed wasn't just cinematic, it was universal. Fact 18. The double that fooled everyone. Halfway through the Cannonball Run, there's a quick scene where a cop pulls over a Lamborghini. Look closely. That officer looks exactly like Burt Reynolds, but it wasn't him. It was Roy Tatum, his longtime stunt double. Tatum resembled Burt so much that even crew members mixed them up. Originally, he was just visiting the set when someone joked, "You should be in the movie." Minutes later, he was in uniform and rolling cameras. One producer even started giving him scene directions, thinking he was Reynolds. The mix-up became one of the film's funniest behind-the-scenes moments, and an unplanned Easter egg fans still point out today. Fact 19. The director's Ferrari gamble. That sleek red Ferrari 308 GTS, driven by Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., it wasn't a studio car. It was director Hal Needham's personal ride, a real stuntman's machine, tuned and loved to perfection. Instead of renting replicas or using props, Hal handed over his own keys, telling the actors only one thing: don't wreck it. Of course, they almost did. During one high-speed take, the car came within inches of a guardrail, leaving everyone frozen. But Hal never flinched. He wanted real danger, real risk, the spirit of the Cannonball Run. In a film built on chaos, that Ferrari wasn't just a vehicle, it was the director's dare in motion. Fact 20. The sequel that started before the finish line. Most studios wait to see if a movie's a hit before making a sequel. Not this one. While the Cannonball Run was still being filmed, executives were already laughing at the dailies and counting the future profits. They didn't even wait for the premiere before greenlighting Cannonball Run this too. No finished script, no final edit, just faith in chaos and star power. The sequel arrived 2 years later. Bigger cast, weaker story, and didn't capture the same lightning. But that decision summed up everything about the original. It was reckless, spontaneous, and unstoppable. Even in business, the Cannonball Run never hit the brakes. The bonus fact, the forgotten third race. Just when fans thought the madness had ended, 1989 brought Speed Zone, also known as Cannonball Fever or Cannonball Run 3, depending on the country. It had no Burt Reynolds, no Dom DeLuise, and none of the original spark. The cast featured John Candy, Brooke Shields, and Eugene Levy, but the tone was all over the road. Critics slammed it. Audiences audiences ignored it, and the movie vanished almost as fast as it arrived. Yet for die-hard fans, it's a bizarre piece of history. Proof that lightning rarely strikes the same track twice. Cannonball Run wasn't just a movie. It was controlled chaos on wheels. Born from rebellion, fueled by friendship, and immortalized by madness, it broke every rule Hollywood had. Decades later, it still reminds us that sometimes the wildest rides make the best stories.